I'm on the train headed for Newbury to talk to Debbie Hepplewhite, and we must be getting near to Newbury because there's the famous historic Newbury Racecourse. It's the location for many important horse races. So I think the station's coming up, so I better get ready as we're almost there. So I'll pick this up when I get off the train. I'm just going to grab a taxi and go meet Debbie Hepplewhite and talk about phonics over dinner. So, let's go! Well, here we are in Newbury. It's a little chilly, but we're going to meet Debbie Hepplewhite. And she's one of the foremost experts in phonics in Great Britain. And I'm going to ask her a few questions so that we know what they're doing here in Great Britain as far as phonics is concerned. So let's go meet Debbie. I've just met Debbie, and we're going to talk about synthetic phonics, particularly about her program, which is called Phonics International. I am going to pose her a few questions while we wait for our dinner to be served. So I'll start with the first question. Debbie, in 2006 the UK government commissioned a report. It's called the Rose Report, and as a result of that report, they initiated a reading program which is to be used by all schools in the UK. Could you tell me how different or how similar that reading program is to your program?
Phonics International is completely the same as that program in that it is underpinned by the synthetic phonics teaching principles, and so it's identical in that respect. Letters and Sounds is a guidance manual, but it doesn't have a single resource, whereas Phonics International is all resources. It has an extensive cumulative bank of resources, second to none, because on the internet I've been able to provide those for teachers and learners.
That's great. That program's called Letters and Sounds.
Yes, that's correct, yes.
And we want to be clear, your program is called
Phonics International.
Good. Most children learn the names of the letters of the alphabet before they go to school. They learn the 26 names, like A for apple, B for ball, and they learn the song A, B, C, D. But you don't teach the actual names of the letters of the alphabet. You don't say A, B, C in your program, do you?
My program does involve teaching the letter names, but only through teaching the alphabet, singing a song, chanting the letter names, as separate from teaching about the alphabetic code and the sounds of the language and the fact that the letters and the letter groups are code for those sounds. So when we want to teach children about the sounds and the letter shapes and put them to use for the reading activities and the spelling activities, we strictly focus on sounds. But if we're teaching about the alphabet, that's when we can bring the letter names into them.
But well, doesn't it confuse them if they learn that A is for apple and A is for apple?
Well, yes, if they've learnt in that way, that is confusing. And what a teacher needs to do is to say, oh yes, you have done well to learn your alphabet and those names, but now I'm going to teach you this special way of the sounds of the letters, and I'm going to teach you how to read and how to spell. And so you wouldn't be rude or disparaging about what's been learnt at home, but you would then go on to make it very clear what you're teaching for the process of reading and spelling. But better still is to reach out to parents even before the children come to school. And increasingly, nurseries and reception classes are beginning to understand that it's the sounds that we need to learn and not the letter names.
Yeah, good. Can you explain briefly what is synthetic phonics and how it differs from traditional phonics? Because phonics has been going on a long time and there's lots of different ways of teaching phonics, and synthetic phonics seems to be the way that you're teaching it.
Synthetic phonics is a type of phonics which is based at the level of the phoneme. A phoneme is a sound of speech, but it's the smallest sound of speech that we can hear and identify. So in a word like boat, we would be able to identify 3 sounds: b-o-t. And so we're teaching phonics at that level, so we'll teach a letter shape for the sound b, a letter shapes, 2 letters together for o, and a letter shape for the t. Now other types of phonics include onset and rhyme phonics, where a word is split into 2 main sounds, b-oat. Now if you teach b-oat, so you're teaching the b separate from the o-a-t together, and you look at other words with o-a-t, you're then going to have to look at another group with o-a-k, those types of words, and another group with o-a-p, and so it goes on and on and on. And if you do the permutations of how many bits of code you're going to have to teach through onset and rhyme, or consonant clusters, you get this astronomical figure of bits of code to teach. Synthetic phonics really just teaches the minimum we need by going for these single sounds and the code for those. And with those you've got huge flexibility of the words that you can read and the words that you can spell. So it's hugely effective and flexible.
Another difference between your program, I think, and traditional programs is that you don't allow picture clues. Like if we see in traditional books a picture of an apple and the word apple underneath, and the child doesn't even know how to read apple. He can guess it's an apple, and he's not learning to read. Is that why you...
And it isn't reading.
No,
it really
it's
isn't. It's guessing. So it's either guessing the word from the shape of the apple and thinking, well, obviously that word's going to be apple. Or alternatively, it's trying to teach the word apple as a very discrete shape, and which isn't going to get the child any further forward with learning other words. Now, there's something called multi-cueing reading strategies, where academics have looked at different ways of learning to read, and certainly this can be effective for children, where you guess from pictures and get through that book and learn word shapes and look at the sense of the context of the sentence and learn through that. But it's a very, very limiting way of learning to read, because if the pictures aren't there or the context's not there, the child's no further forwards with their reading. And so the research has looked into this, and the research is very, very clear that the most effective way to teach reading is through this synthetic phonics approach. And so it's absolutely true that there are different ways to learn to read, and it's absolutely true that there are lots of different learning styles, and we're all unique individuals. But what's also true is there's an absolute best way to do it, and this is why we need to focus on this very best way that takes learners right through to being adults.
And can we use Phonics International in conjunction with other programs, existing programs?
Yes, you can, but it depends what type of program it is. So I would never recommend that Phonics International is mixed with a mixed methods program. So all that multi-cueing and all that guessing when you read books. If you use that type of approach for reading books and you use Phonics International, then you haven't done a synthetic phonics approach. So in order to stick to the true teaching principles, you could mix it with a program that's a synthetic phonics program. And so that's absolutely fine. In fact, I've built on a program called Jolly Phonics, which has got the same synthetic phonics teaching principles, but I've just provided more content and more meat and made it more accessible for a range of ages. And so you can mix it with those with the same teaching principles, but you have to do that very advisedly.